Chris Fay, I thought he was going to join too. He RSVP'd that he was going to join us.
Okay.
But that's all right. In the meanwhile, we can just rock and roll.
I was going to do honoring the game. Is that cool?
Okay. That's more than cool.
Perfect.
Yep. Do you want me to have the slides or will it be distracting to you?
No, I'd like the slides just to keep me on pace with that.
Okay.
So again, we've been through the first two pieces. We've been through emotional tank. We've been through Elm Tree of Mastery. Let's get to, let's see, slide, what are we on, 48? Yep.
That one? There you go.
48. Perfect. So now we're going to get into honoring the game. And honoring the game is really just a more robust view of sportsmanship. Instead of a list of don'ts, don't turn your palms up at the referee. We want to give you the tools to inspire you to be your best. And we really want you to be the model for that. And as the coach, as the leader of the team, it does start with you. So we've got the acronym ROOTS. So number one is rules. Play the game as it should be played, as it's supposed to be played. There's always a shortcut. There's always a way around that you can take. And what we want you to do is play to not only the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law. Make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. Opponents. Without opponents, sports isn't there. There's nothing to do. It's a tug of war with no one on the other side of the rope. How cool is it that a team has prepared to show you their best, has invited you to their school to come in and really show your best? We want it to be fierce and friendly. I saw that, you guys use that word in Positive Coaching Alliance. I've always heard that from Hanson Dorrance in women's soccer, that we owe it to them to prepare for every team like they're the best team we're going to play. We owe it to them to show them how highly we thought of them, that we were prepared to put our best on the field. Third thing, the letter O, this is the big one. This is the third team on the field, the officials. There's no game without officials. And they're there to make sure that, going back to the first letter, R, that the game's played the way it's supposed to be played. There's really no excuse for disrespecting official, especially in youth sports, where the official is probably a youth sports player who's 6 years older than the kids he's refereeing or she's refereeing. We want to make sure that these kids not only have a good experience. Yes, they're going to make mistakes. Guess what? Your players are. You are. But we're going to respect them while they're on the field, and there's no excuse for disrespecting them. The letter T, teammates. There's the old saying that you play for the name on the front of the jersey, not for the name on the back. We want you to behave in a way that your team, that your coaches, that your family, that your school, that your community will be proud of. And this is both on and off the field. At the end of the game, there's always a little spillover. I love sports that has shaking hands at the end of it. Ice hockey. We would do it in ice hockey. We would make certain that our players take their gloves off when they shake hands, so that they're actually shaking hands, not just doing a fist bump with that. And then the last is respect for self. This is a tough one because sometimes maybe your opponent isn't respecting the game the way you would want them to, and it would be easy for you to fall down that pit with them. We want you to be able to hold yourself to that high standard. Again, on the field, on the rink, in the pool, on the court, and off in your community. How'd we do? Any questions come up on this? Are we missing anything?
How about coaches? How about respecting the coaches?
I love that one. I do love that one. And I think we're going to have a talk about how we'll call them part of the opponents for now, but maybe we need to put CROOTS in. Coaches, rules, opponents, officials, teammates, self with that. But coaches, absolutely, because really, guys, this boils down to you're the figurehead. Your team will behave the way you behave. Your parents will behave the way you behave. If you go palms up to the referee all the time, every time there's a bad call, if you think managing the official is the way to go, it's going to be reflected with your parents. You want to set the example. Go to the next slide. So now here's the scenario. The opposing coach has been riding the refs the entire game, and it seems to be working. Final moments of the close game, the official makes a horrible call. We're going to group talk about this. What can you do? What is something you could possibly do about this?
Did you want us
Sorry,
to,
you
I'm
guys
sorry,
are the
did you want us
group.
to get in a group? Okay.
You
Did
guys
you
are
want
the
us to
group.
get
We're
in a
going to
group?
group share on that.
Okay.
So what are some things we can do with this?
Well, one thing we could do is go back to what you said about Elm and talk about focusing on what we can control. We can't change the call that just happened. We don't. That's not within our control.
Right.
We're not going to make the calls down the stretch. Someone else is doing that. We got plenty of important stuff to keep our minds on and focus on, and try to control those controllables.
Yep. And Ruben, you brought up a great point in going back to Elm, and I want to go back to something that I really want to hit on. I said it starts with you. It also starts in honoring the game at the beginning of the season. You can't just introduce it in a moment of crisis and expect that they'll have it figured out. So what we wanted them to know is we're going to discuss at the beginning of the season. We're going to discuss this acronym. We're going to discuss it at least once a week. We're going to talk about honoring the game. We're going to go through possible scenarios where you will have opportunities in practice to perform respecting the official. You know, I think we've all done this. Maybe when we're coaching, bad call, deal with it, next play. You know, you just go on, and you may purposely make a bad call just to see how your players will deal with it. Will it cripple them, or will it allow them to just go, good, we'll go with it? Kelly, would you like to add anything on how we could deal with
Yeah,
this?
I think what I would do if it was a close game and it was the end of the game, I might consider calling a timeout and walking over to the official and just asking for clarification. Because if it was a bad call, I think I'd like to know why, because my players are probably flipping out and the parents are probably flipping out. So I would just like to just challenge the official a little bit, to make them think, make them know that we care, and just politely, respectfully go over and ask, like, can you just explain why you made that call?
Right. Perfect. I love that. So we'll go to the next slide, please. And the double goal moment of truth. So first thing we'll do is we'll model and teach it. And again, that goes back to the last paragraph that I just said. You have to model it and teach it from early in the season on. You have to be the model. You have to make sure that they're discussing it, that they get the opportunity to do it. So when it comes down to the critical moment, you're not asking them to do something they've never done before. You set them up to deal with these. Second is a self-control routine. At the school that I coach at, we actually have a mindfulness component where we just do a couple deep breaths and it recenters you. And we've done it with our coaches. We've done it with our teachers. We actually do it with our students. And for me, that's something that I like to do, is just take a few deep breaths before, we all get that hormonal surge that everything wants to come out, and you just go and settle back down a little bit. And the last thing that we could look at is narrated modeling. Hey, Kelly, hey, Ruben, I understand that this call didn't go the way we wanted it to. I'm going to ask the ref, as Kelly just said, at a timeout about it, or I'm going to discuss it with them in a moment that it's better to do rather than go out on the field and cause a scene with that. We're going to do it. But it shows to the parents, to the players, that you have noticed it, you acknowledge it, you do want clarification of it, but you are showing respect with it. Sound good?
Yeah.
We have each of those pieces, the model and teach, the self-control routine, the narrated modeling. It's all in the book on pages 47, 46, 48. And then another piece that we would talk about, if you're doing the narrated modeling, it gives you a chance to earn some credibility with the parents if you discuss it with them and they see that you are addressing it in the proper way. You're setting the tone. It allows them to say, all right, she does care about this. They aren't just letting it go. They are competitive. We also have a parent workshop, too, if that's something that you're interested in. We could always work with them. Do you guys have any self-control routines that you use? I mentioned that I use mindfulness. Kelly, Ruben, do you have anything that you use?
I take deep breaths. I'm big. I do yoga, so I'm very big in taking a deep breath to calm myself down. But it kind of came back to bite me because my players last season knew that when Coach K took a deep breath, then I was stressed out and frustrated. So there was a little girl that was on the bench next to me, and she saw me go, and she goes, "It's okay, Coach. It'll be all right. We'll get it."
I love it.
And I'm thinking, wait, she's counseling me, and I thought I was being so calm. And they recognize a deep breath means okay, I'm stressed out about something.
Great.
So I might have to come up with another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used a few different ones. I like taking the deep breath also. I like calmly walking down to the end of the bench and getting a drink of water at the water station.
I love it.
And the other one I like, John, is I like self-talk. Okay, what do the players need to see from you now as the leader of this team? So I'll say self-question, self-talk.
Right. Love it. I love that one. I'm gonna add that one in a little bit of self. Is the self-talk allowed, or is it an internal monologue?
It's usually silent self-talk. Okay. Yeah. Internal monologue. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. I love it. All right, we'll go. So thank you guys. I appreciate your time on that. I heard what you said, and I love it. I love it. We're going to go to culture now, and this goes into starting at the beginning of the season, talking about the robust view of sportsmanship, really talking about honoring the game. And it doesn't just happen. We believe the definition of culture is the way we do things here. Where I coach might be different from where Kelly coaches, where Ruben coaches, and we all have certain factors that weigh into our culture. Culture is also dynamic. It will change during the season. So we want to get across with, if someone comes to watch our practice, they can get a sense of what our culture is like by watching us. They understand how we're trying to do things. Does that make sense to you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And there's a great example of it with creating a positive team culture. And Kelly, if possible, I would love to show this video, because I think Julie has some phrases that just resonate. I think you guys probably know them, but could we click on that or show it, or do you want me to just
Sure. Nope, I think I can. The sound is the only thing that sometimes gets messed up. Let me see if I can do this. Well, I'll let you guys can tell me if you can hear it or not. How about that?
So one of the things I think about all the time with our national team is my almost 2 decades of playing with them, being a captain or a co-captain for most of the time, was why were we so successful? And how did we create a team culture that was positive? And the first thing we would do is...
I think it's resonating off your microphone.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Hold on.
Team member. We would embrace them and say, welcome to the family. It was...
Sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
I wasn't sure how to do it on my phone. I know how to do it with my computer.
No, that's all right. So we can go through it. I wrote down the phrases that I love for Julie. Is that she said right away, team culture starts early. We make it clear that we're all in this together. We will be competitive. I think the phrase she uses, we're going to kick you on the field a little bit. We're going to compete with you, but it is going to make you better. We are going to compete. And then the phrase that really shot up for me is that, what is it that you want a new player to know right away? And I thought that was just such a great definition of culture. Parenthetically, I'm a fan of Julie Prouty, having worked in a league with her, having sat in rooms with her. I find her incredibly compelling, well-spoken, just whatever. I don't know why she's not president of the United States, except that she doesn't want the job. But she just commands a room when she speaks. And you can see that she could set that tone. And I love the piece that she also pointed out that she and Carla, who were the longtime captains of those teams that have now gone into legend, would do the little things, would carry the bag of balls, would carry the water, and would say, let's go. They would just set the tone both through words and through deeds. Isn't that cool to have a captain like that? Someone to assist with what the coach is trying to get across?
Absolutely.
Any questions on culture? All right, we're into review time. The 3 key takeaways. We've talked through E-Tank, we've talked through ELM, we've talked through honoring the game. So we're going to leave you with 3 key things. Number 1, athletes need to feel connected, and you've got to relentlessly fill the emotional tank. That will connect them. Number 2, athletes need to believe they can improve, and you do that rewarding unsuccessful efforts to send a clear signal. I appreciate your run down the sideline. Even though you didn't get to the cross, it'll happen. I appreciate you backstopping the net, because the rebound will come there, or the shot that goes wide. And number 3, athletes feel proud about acting with integrity. When you honor the game, it allows you to feel better knowing that you've competed at your best against a worthy opponent. So with that, we give you a toolkit. E-Tank in the 5-to-1 ratio, the Elm Tree of Mastery, honoring the game. Which of these tools, if you could pick, we'll just say one, because all of them can help, but which one was new to you and that you feel you could use in practice later on this week? Ruben or Kelly?
I think positive charting is something that I don't do right now, and I think that'll be really helpful to be able to keep a quantifiable number of times that the kids got back on defense, or that they, scrambled for a loose ball or something like that. I think those are really good, because I don't usually keep track of those stats. I usually just keep track of shooting, scoring, passing, assists, that type of thing. So I think that would be helpful.
And how would you do that? Would you be doing that as the head coach, or would you designate someone?
I would probably try to do it myself because I don't have an assistant coach. But if I can wrangle a parent, that would be probably helpful.
Perfect. Ruben, anything you can use this week with your teams?
Yeah, I like the mistake ritual idea, and I like the idea of flushing it. I think the players can utilize that. I think it'll help us.
Excellent. And there are other ones that we could use as well. Just if you try one new concept every couple weeks. Again, guys, if you leave the seminar with the meeting with one or two things that you can use right away, that's great. Then you can refer back to the book. You can search out other things. You can try a different one. We'll be sending you emails as well. Next slide. All right. In the beginning, we talked about this. What is the number one thing that most coaches can do to be more effective? What's the number one thing? Kelly, what's the number one thing? We actually said this in the E-Tank part of the presentation. What's the number one thing?
Be more positive.
Close. Ruben?
Yeah, it's the ratio, the 5-to-1 ratio.
5-to-1 ratio. So be more positive is great. We just want to be a little more specific with our positive charting, with our ratio. We want to make sure we're getting 5 valid, applicable pluses for them to work with. So coaching resources. I said at the beginning, you have the book. If it's brand new and the binding is still good at the end of the season, we want you to be using it more. We want you to be highlighting. We want you to be dogging in pages. We want you to be referring back to it. There's a system of common challenges, applicable things that you can do. We've got a website that you can go to with all sorts of issues that you may have dealt with, that you may be dealing with, that we can help you with as well. Coaching resources, weekly talking point. When you signed in with your phone, you did the register online, you got your confirmation. I know that you're here. We have the little race. We've got weekly talking points to keep your momentum going throughout the season. I can't stress more than this, that it needs to be an ongoing conversation. It's not one time. We hope that you don't just spend an hour and a half here and say, yeah, I learned a few things. We want you to say, yep, I learned a few things and I'm applying them and I'm looking forward to the next piece to learn. These are pieces to discuss, give you a little competitive edge, and a way to help you build your team culture. And one more slide, I believe.
Yep, I flipped it. They did not show up. The Dev Zone, did you do that? Okay.
The PCA Dev Zone. This is the one, and this is constantly updated. We've got more and more coaches coming in. We've got articles. We're always putting in new content. And this is the piece that I really stressed earlier, that I've kind of gone through it and tried to find situations that I've had to deal with in my coaching career, and somebody there has dealt with it and come up with a discussion point on it. So take a look at it, make it a bookmarked page on your browser. And then thank you for your commitment to kids and youth sports. Remember why you got into it. And then if you get a moment, go through and complete the evaluation. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your time. I'll stick around afterwards if anyone has any questions. Good luck this season.
All right. Thanks, John. What'd you think? Did you like that principle as much as the other one?
I love that principle. Yeah.
Good.
I love that principle.
Good. All right. Let me shift back into my, well, you know what? I'll just stay. Am I clear? I feel like I'm blurry on the phone, but
you're good.
Okay, good. Then I won't switch back. All right. You did that. Your timing on that was really good. You started at 11:05 and you finished, that was like under 20 minutes. So that was good. That's a good pace for that principle because it's at the end. And a lot of times time gets crunched at the end and you have to be able to get through it. But you, of course, would check your timing throughout the whole workshop so that you would give honoring the game the ample amount of time. But unfortunately, not all trainers do. And I've seen trainers fly through this in about 5 minutes, which is a shame because it is such a good principle. Ruben, would you like to start?
Yeah. Kelly, when you got on and you went to get your earbuds and you came back, John and I were talking about the things that he wanted to focus on in this demo. And John, for me, this was your strongest of the 3 demos. It was the most comfortable for me as a participant And quite honestly, as a trainer of trainers, it was the most comfortable one for me to be a part of. Your pace was fantastic, because you had complete coverage, but you kept it moving, and the closure slides. You want to bang through those. And you did. But you explained them, and in fact, because your pace is strong there, I do think you're going to leave yourself room, which is a good thing, to pull us in a little more during the roots, during the honoring the game principle in some way. Okay. Mm-hmm. It might be that on one of them, and the one I tend to do this on is respect for officials. Okay. I pause for a second and okay, well, why is it so hard to show respect for officials? Just create a little more conversation there and break up my own explaining, because even though you move quickly through routes, it is you talking, 5 different bullet points. And so that's one way to pull us in, is to pick one of them and, create the conversation, ask us some follow-up questions. Kelly does some things where after she goes through routes, I've seen her do a couple of different things, but like one of them is, okay, you can see that I've got signs up in various parts of the room, RO, rules, opponents, officials. Go to the one that you think you're strongest at. And when you get there, I want you to talk to each other about what you do that makes respect for officials such a strong part of your So again, the key is your pacing, which is so good, allowing space to do some of that.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything else? Thanks, Ruben.
I can. I mentioned the laughter and the smile before you even started, and sure enough, I saw it throughout. Book references on tools, very, very strong. That you remind us about. You made a few references to the book. Narrated modeling is a tough one. I think some trainers struggle with explaining what narrated modeling is, and I think you did a very nice job with that.
So, Ruben, did I hit my goal? Was I me?
I think so. I think again,
you don't know me.
Started with, that's part of what made it comfortable for us. Is I think you more than any of the three, we saw the real, the more natural John Cunningham. It was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Ruben. I just had a couple things to add to it. I liked your pace too. I thought you seemed pretty comfortable just moving through the material, and as I said, you didn't spend too much time on one thing or not enough time on another. So I really like that. The part that I agree with what Ruben said, like even when you go through these ROOTS quickly, the reason that I've done them 2 different ways, whereas you go through each one, you can sort of stop, as Ruben said, and have a little discussion based around rules, or have a discussion based around how to be respectful of opponents. I used to do it that way, and I found that section drew out a lot. So I know I change every workshop, but I tend to go through them quickly like you did, and then have some type of reflection activity. Because I think for this principle, there's 2 sides of it. One is, how are you as a coach challenged in honoring the game and respecting the rules, officials, teammates, and self? But the other part of this principle, which is huge, is that you're really the one that determines the culture. You're the one that's really inspiring the culture and defending the culture on your team. So what are you doing on your team to help your players respect the rules, respect the officials, respect the teammates, respect themselves? So that's why I think it's a great opportunity to be really interactive and really reflective, and have these coaches think like, wait, where have I disrespected the rules? What do I do in practice to show the kids that it's okay to break the rules? Well, during a scrimmage, I don't blow the whistle because I don't want to waste time. But you know what? Then the kids don't learn what the infractions are. And then they go out in a game, they do the same thing, and they yell at the ref because they're not used to it. Things like that, especially in terms of self-respect. I think self-respect is a big one that a lot of trainers just blow off pretty quickly. And I think the idea that a player is going to do what is the right thing to do, even when others disagree, or when society's telling him or her that it's not the right thing to do. So I would just spend a little bit more time. As I said, your pace was great. So spend a little bit more time on that, getting the coaches, ask, not tell. I always keep that in the back of my mind. because I'm a talker too. Any opportunity you have to ask, not tell, you'll have a lot more interaction from them. The other thing I like when you were talking about just to hit the moment of truth, I think that's another part that we kind of blow off really quickly. When it gets to the slide that says the double goal coach moment of truth after that scenario, what does that mean? The moment of truth, I always tell coaches that it's so easy to be a double goal coach when you're winning and things are going well. But when there's a little bit of pressure, a little bit of difficulty, can you be that double goal coach that really, truly will take the life lesson over the win? And teaching the life lesson is, I'm not going to flip out at this official. It's, I am going to explain. I'm not going to say, man, that was a horrible call. I don't know what that ref was thinking, guys, but we're going to keep playing. So many people think that's being a good double goal coach. You just disrespected the official in front of your team. So that just the idea of what is the moment of truth for you? You're coaching in a fishbowl. Everybody's watching. And you did hit that. I liked when you said, we are an example for our team.
So
the
Kelly,
other part that
Kelly, just one more thing about moment of truth. And Jim, that builds right off of the scenario and discussion we just had, right? End of the game, the call goes in favor of the other team. So that is an example of a double goal coach moment of truth. And so I think that can be part of your transition and part of your explanation of what we mean by a double goal coach moment of truth.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And I'm just going to share something that I stole from another trainer some years ago that I now use in my workshops, and I love it. I heard a trainer ask a simple question: what triggers the need for a self-control routine in you? And I heard that question, I thought, I was never asked that before, but it was a really good exercise in the coaches thinking, okay, we all know we flipped out. We all know that we've lost our patience. What was the trigger? And just being aware of what triggers you can help you build in a self-control routine. Be the master of your rage early. I just thought that was a really good question.
I love that one. I know when I can hear my pulse.
Exactly.
When I can
But
hear my own pulse, I know.
It's coming. But what was the moment that made you do that? You know what I mean? Like, is it when a player doesn't listen? You all know the officials make bad calls, but is it what other things trigger your temperature to rise? A couple other things. I think you need to spend a little bit more time on parent tools, because I think that's a crucial part of this. And that's the only time we really mention parents throughout the workshop. So have them open up to page 49, have them talk about a parent, have them look at it. Wow, we have a parent meeting agenda. How many of you have a parent meeting? Great. How many of you discuss more than practice times and uniform handout? Then all the hands go down. So, giving them that resource. And then I liked your little plug, like we do a parent workshop. But I think that's a part of the workshop where, coaches are on the parents' cases. Their parents are their biggest headache. So give it a little bit of time for them to talk about that. Also, last thing, the video, I thought it was great. The way you talked about Julie Foudy. I think it's great for people that don't know Julie Foudy. Give her some credibility. Let Julie Foudy do the talking. So I don't know if you were doing it for us, but in a workshop, you don't have to repeat what Julie Foudy said. Ask that coaches. What did you get out of that? What really resonated with you? What did she say that was important? And then, follow up with the last question. What do you want a new player to know when they walk onto your team? And ask them. Okay, I'm a new player coming on your team. What do I want to know? What is it going to feel like? So again, I was just thinking, ask, don't tell a couple times when you were going through this, like, oh, ask us, don't tell us. Ask us this question. Don't tell us this question.
Got it.
But John, I think, again, I'm most picky with people that are very strong and on their way to go out and do this live. So those are just some things that I picked up on. I think the tools at the end, you did a nice job asking us what tools are we actually going to use. And I think that's where the tools become concrete. And I would, now the next day of practice, I'm going to feel like, gosh, I have to use this tool now because John told me I had to. So I thought that was great. So thank you. Thank you very much. And congratulations. You did a nice job.
Thank you. I have a question for you guys. When we talk about, we don't want it to be a list of don'ts. We don't want it to be, don't yell at refs, don't kick the water jug, don't do this. With officials, it's to come up with the phrase of treating them with respect, I don't think shows enough of what we really want to get across. So we want to say, is it too much to say there's no reason, there's absolutely no excuse or no reason to show disrespect to an official? Or, how do we phrase that in a strong enough way that's not a list of don't yell at refs, don't accost them? Any thoughts?
I think what you just said, I mean, I think all of the roots, all of the honoring the game are very black and white, and they're standards that you defend. You put them in place, you defend them, and you uphold them. And even if it's your number one star player, your top leading scorer, and they flip out on the ref, they're out. And that's something that I think coaches give a lot of lip service to, but they don't act on it. And the consequences of the disrespectful behavior aren't dealt with right away because, oh, well, he didn't mean it, or he's got 5 goals. We can't take him out now. That's where the life lesson, that's the moment of truth. That's exactly what we're talking about.
Okay.
So I think that's just my opinion. I don't know, Scott or Jim or Ruben, you guys can chime in on that question as well.
I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks, John.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome to hang on and watch Jim, or if you got to go, we understand. But Jim's going to be doing his intro to the workshop demo.
I'll watch. I can always learn.
All right. And Scott, thanks for joining us.
Good
Scott's
morning.
on mute. Good morning. How are you?
Good. I'm thrilled to see the sunshine in the back of Ruben's window there. We're floating away down here in Texas.
Oh. Really?
Yeah,
We're pretty rainy here, too.
We haven't seen the sun in about 4 days.
Oh, my goodness.
We would gladly trade you here in California. We would gladly trade you.
I've got 2 dogs that are tired of wet paws.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, you guys need to move to Pennsylvania because we had 5 inches of snow on Sunday and 80 degrees yesterday. So you guys can move here and you just get a little bit of, and now it's raining today. So you get a little bit of everything here in PA.
Well, that's the way it's been down here too. We've got cold and then 70 and then cold and then 70. Like the whole town's got a runny nose or.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's flooding everywhere too.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Jim's happy to be there from sunny Florida, right?
Well, yeah, I just came back from Colorado, too, where it was 65 degrees on Sunday and then snowed 4 inches on Monday. So.
I love it. I love it. So Jim's going to be doing his intro to the workshop demo. And Jim, I don't know if you can see the PowerPoint, but if you click on the small box that has it, it'll make it larger on your screen.
Well, I was actually able to get on with my iPad, so I have the demo slides on my laptop, so I'm okay.
Wow, now you're Mr. Techno Genius. I love it.
This is a big stretch for me.
I love the growth mindset. That's awesome.
Exactly.
All right. Well, whenever you're ready, then will I distract you with the slides up? Do you want me to take that down? Or are you okay?
Oh, no, that's fine. I mean, the biggest distraction for me actually is to be sitting down and doing something like this, as opposed to actually moving around like I normally would do. When I teach like a USA Hockey coaches clinic or even this, but I just have to tie myself to my chair here so I don't get up and move. So,
well, you're welcome. I mean, for future ones, if you want to set it up so that you're moving around the room, feel free. We've had people that have stood up on the other side of the room because they can't sit still. So that's fine.
Okay. So
you have us as your coaches in the workshop. We'll answer questions based on probably Scott's also a trainer. So anything that we've heard at workshops, we usually give you answers based on our own answer or answers we've heard at workshops. So feel free to dig in, add a little acting in there and have fun.
Okay. So obviously when the clinic's here going to start the workshop, I'll have the slide up for them to sign in, and I'll be, as they're coming in, tell them to go ahead and sign in ahead of time. But for those that come in late or right at the buzzer like most of us coaches do, and I'll start out with that part too. Okay, first I'd like to welcome you all here today for the Triple Impact Competitors Workshop, and I'm glad you're taking a part of your day to try to make your kids better athletes and better people. And make sure that we get credit for the fact that you're here today, I first want you to get out your phones, text the following number that's up there on the screen, and then include all the following: the hashtag followed by the number with no space, your first name, your last name, and your email address, so that I'll get credit for being here for the day. And again, we all know that you're very busy, and we appreciate what you're doing here to make us all better coaches. Okay, this is a double goal coach workshop. And first thing I'd like to know is how many of you have ever been to a PCA workshop before? You know what PCA is, okay? Now, to also get an idea of what we have here in the room to learn from, how many coaches have been coaching for, let's say, 1 year? 3 years? 5? 10? 15? 20? Okay, so what the good thing here is we have a lot of opportunities to learn from each other here. I mean, a lot of experiences, and that's the important part. This isn't me pontificating to you. Instead, this is our workshop. Now, a little brief background on myself. I've been a hockey coach for 25 years. I've run programs for about 20, and I'm also a coaching education program instructor for USA Hockey. And I have a deep passion for coaching kids to not only make them the best possible athletes they can be, but the best possible people. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm having problems with my computer here for a second. Okay.
That's okay.
Who is PCA? What is it? Well, first of all, it's a nonprofit founded at Stanford University in 1998 by Jim Thompson. 80,000 coaches have been trained. Over 3.3 million youth have been reached. And there's been 25,000 live workshops, as well as 1 million visits to the PCA DevZone org website. Positive coaching. We all hear this phrase all the time. What does it mean? What does it mean to you guys? Anybody have an answer there?
Be encouraging.
Okay. What else?
Focusing on what kids are doing right, as opposed to constantly nitpicking all the mistakes and negatives.
Anybody else?
I think a coach that knows how to have fun with the kids and actually enjoys what they're doing.
You know, and those are all wonderful answers. And one of the things that I learned from a coach friend of mine, who's one of the premier wakeboard instructors in the world, we were doing learn to play hockey of all classes. And he was saying to me, okay, he comes up to me and says, you know, what's our job here? And being a coach, I'm starting to think, oh, you know, we got to work on their knee bend. We got to build fundamentals. We got to do all this stuff. And he turns around to me and says, to make them come back next week, stupid. And I'm like, well, a light bulb went off. It's not, if they're not going to come back, if they're not going to enjoy it, we have no opportunity to make them better athletes and better people. Okay. The power of positive. We hear all this all the time. What does it really mean? Well, sports psychologists are now helping us coaches become better coaches. And you hear quotes like this from Dr. Barbara Fredrickson about there's a perception that the best way to get what you want out of employees or players is by negativity or threats. But negativity doesn't work as well as positivity. Positive emotions are especially contagious, and a leader's positive emotions are more contagious than anyone else. And what I like about all this is this is what I think is the right way to do it, but it's backed up by research. Okay. Here's another quote that was in Sports Illustrated. Study after study shows the benefits of a more positive approach. The days of screaming and yelling at kids and yanking on football helmets just isn't working. Does anybody else agree with that?
Well, I agree with it, but boy, you know, I watch those college coaches and pro coaches, and they sure get angry a lot, and you know, they win a lot of games and they make a lot of money, and you know, I'd love to coach that level someday. So
okay.
I don't know what to make of that.
You know, and this is what's really very interesting is a lot of the elite coaches agree that positivity is really the way to go. And if you watch, like in my sport, which is hockey, there's a lot of young and up-and-coming guys who had they studied psychology in school. And they're known as developing a culture of positive reinforcement, that players are fearless when they play. And I think it's starting to switch. Now, again, we have to remember that a college coach at that level and a pro coach is different. Whether they feed their family depends on whether they win games. And that is a difference. Hopefully you're not depending on your feeding your family by coaching your little league team. Now, again, as we said, a lot of the elite coaches agree with what's going on here. Now, I have one problem with this slide. As a hockey player, I don't feel the love here. Claude Giroux's picture, who's the coach of Montreal, is not on there. But again, we have professional coaches in baseball, soccer, basketball, football, all agreeing that this is the way to go, and they spend their time, not just their mouths, but spend their time by volunteering on the PCA National Advisory Board. Okay. What negativity does. Okay. Mind in the moment. They're always worried about that play as opposed to what's happening next. Distracts you from your task because you're so uptight, you don't know what's going to happen there. So again, we have sports psychologists who study this, and we know that it does help as opposed to just thinking it helps. Okay. Do you agree? Does positive work better, or does it negativity distracts, or what are you guys' feelings on that?
I think positivity works better in the long run, and I think negativity does distract in the short term. But I still think that, you know, negativity does work in some instances. When I yell, my players jump. So I don't know. Sometimes I think when they're misbehaving or they're not listening to me, I need to yell a little bit to get them moving.
Now, can you accomplish that thing by being vocal, but by being positive as opposed to telling them, screaming and yelling about doing things wrong? Is there another way you can approach that?
Probably a better way.
Well, if we're going to ask ourselves as coaches for our children to improve, we need to start looking at ourselves the way that maybe we can improve, which will also will help our experience and we'll enjoy it more. I know that when I do stuff like that and I start getting tense, there's no enjoyment there for me. And as a coach, I want it to be enjoyable. So does anybody else have an idea of when you're really starting to want to yell at them, what you can do with all that energy? Anyone?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure what you mean by being vocal and being positive, especially if the kids are not on task or not paying attention.
Well, one thing I think you can do as a coach is look for good things that are happening. Like in my sport, one of the hardest things for kids to understand is to play without the puck. So if I see a kid sprinting hard for open ice, whether or not he gets that, I'm going to get really, really, really excited. And then the other kids on the team will start seeing, Coach got excited by that. So what do kids want to do? They want to please you. So they'll start doing the habit that you want by finding those kinds of things as opposed to saying, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Okay? Because then they start becoming robots. They can't think creatively, and they're just doing what you tell them as opposed to what they can start to learn to make themselves a better player without you sometimes. Now, why do you think there is so much negativity in sports? Anybody?
I think, as you said before, coaches don't have another way. They don't know another way to do it. You asked me if there was a better way, and I couldn't really come up with one. So I think a lot of coaches just don't have another option. Okay,
who else has an idea on that?
I think we see what happens in pro sports. We see what happens in pro sports, and that coach that yells and screams or throws his visor, like Steve Spurrier or something like that. That's what they see. So that's the example that's been set for us.
Okay, so we're emulating college coaches and professional coaches, again, who their livelihoods depend on this, and not coaches that we're at the younger ages who we don't feel that they're developed enough to be playing at the college level, and we're going to act like that kind of college coach. So we have to start thinking about what age group are we doing? What's our job with that age group? We're not, we don't expect this kid to play like a Division I football player when he's 10 years old. So we have to approach that differently. That kid may not have the emotional or experiences to deal with a coach who is going to act like that way. Now, anybody else with some ideas what creates the negativity?
Well, I think when you in a game, a hockey game, there's two coaches. They both want to win, and at any point in the game, they want their team to be winning. One of them's in that position, and one of them's not. And it's frustrating when you're not in that position. And, I think we don't like it, and I think we can get negative when it's our turn to be on that side of the scoreboard.
Well, and that's exactly right. And that's a normal feeling to have. Though, again, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I think the benefit that I have for you guys in the room here is not that I have all the answers, but I had 25 years of screwing up, and I learned from my mistakes. And I want it to be enjoyable for me. So again, what I try to do during the game is, okay, if a kid took the puck wide who had never taken it wide in the game before, that's a victory for me. And it's a victory for that kid. I can't control the opposition. I can't control how good they are. I can only control whether my kids play with effort and if I, as a coach, can help them get better each game. And if we do that and my kids play with effort, I can feel it's a victory. I don't know about you, but I've walked off the well, you don't walk off the ice. So what you do, go shake hands. You get to walk off the ice. But I've had victories where I walked off feeling this was awful. My kids played terrible. There was no hustle. They were doing things wrong, but they pulled off the win. So to me, that wasn't as successful as the game that we lost, but we did all the things that made them better for the next game that we play. You know, personally, I think there's a reason why coaches are negative. And this is the only theory you're going to have that's not based with fact like all the other ones that we supply here. But I think we're, as coach, we're fixers. And there has to be something wrong for us to fix it. You did that wrong. You did this wrong. You did that wrong. Okay, now I get to fix it. Well, we should also look at what they did right. And by reinforcing what they did right, we'll get the same behavior that we need and the positive behavior that we want. And also, I don't know about you, but if my boss at work's always telling me what I'm doing wrong, it's not much fun. But if they come up and say, hey, you did this right. That was awesome. That was awesome. Can we work on this other thing? I'm more likely to work on that other thing than if you keep telling me that I'm wrong. And it's, you know, it's just a way, you know, and as coaches, we want to help the kids. And I just think that if we just look at different ways, we can all try to get better, just like we expect our kids to get better. Okay, PCA's vision. All right. It's based off of research. Again, it's not just, I feel this is the right way. Now I have reinforcement. That helps me as a coach. I can go to parents and say, well, you know what? This is backed by fact and research, okay? And that's why we get the best practice of great coaches to develop better athletes and better people. You know, what we have to explain to these kids and their parents is the better people part is huge, not only for them in their lives, but also in their athletic careers. I had a kid that I coached in, of all places, Orlando, Florida, who's in the NHL right now. And last night he was up for goal of the game. He's playing for Las Vegas. And the neatest thing about it was when he was in the AHL last year, he was the humanitarian of the year for the San Jose club. That's awesome. And what we take that one step further, guys, is that when he was being recruited out of college, I got a call from an NHL scout. And you can tell the parents and remind this to the kids. They go all the way back to the coach you had at 10 years old, 12 years old, 14 years old. And the question they had asked me wasn't anything about how he played hockey. They know the answers for that. They don't need me. The very first question was, how does he treat his parents? Then it was, how does he treat you? How do he treat others? And luckily, in this case, I was able to say, this is a great human being. Because they're spending millions of dollars and they want character. And I hope that my program, I know we helped him develop as a hockey player, but I hope that our program helped develop the character to make him as successful as he is. And as all coaches, I want to steal a little bit of that Humanitarian of the Year award. But it was really neat to see him do that. Okay, the good thing about this, we're not just going to give you this workshop and send you out to the world and expect you to fix everything. We have research-based coaching. We have practical tools, a toolkit that will help you be a better coach. You have ongoing research support. You're going to leave here, you have the book as a resource. You have the weekly coach talking points. And I said before, you have the PCADevZone.org website that will help you after you leave this place. Okay. What makes a great youth experience for kids? You know, again, you're the ones out here that have done all that, doing this for so long. What do you think makes a great experience?
When they get better, when they improve and progress
Okay. Yeah. I mean, no kid wants to get on the field or on the ice and get worse. And they want to get better. And the better they get, the harder they're actually going to work off the ice or off the field. Okay. What else?
They want to have their friends on the team. They want to make sure that they have fun with the kids that are on the team with them.
So they want to build lifelong relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And is that?
Yeah, I don't know if they think about it that way. You know, hey, this is a chance for me to build. I think, but I think they want to enjoy the boys and girls that they're practicing and competing with. You know, they want to enjoy the group.
Yeah, I mean,
and you're right. I mean, it could turn into a long-term relationship, but I don't think in their minds they're going, "Oh, I want to build long-term, lifelong friends."
You're exactly right. I mean, hopefully the end all will be that, it's a lifelong relationship. I mean, one of my sons plays NCAA hockey, and the other two played club hockey, and they all the guys from the hockey teams live together, and they're all buddies still. Even though my one son just became a doctor, he's friends with all the guys that were on the team years ago. But at the time, even at 20-some years old, they're living in the moment. So, but again, and that's the thing parents have to understand. These people that want to change teams every year, it's really hard for these kids to build a relationship. And kids want to be with their friends. What other stuff do we need to do to create this kind of atmosphere?
Remember to make it fun.
Oh, sometimes that's a dirty word. It's fun. What do you mean by making it fun?
Like you said earlier, they want to make sure they come back. You know, you ought to be able to listen and see smiles and hear laughter at a practice, in my opinion.
And how do we create that?
We do some drills that allow the kids to have fun. That might be still teaching fundamentals, but they're competing and we do silly things with the winners and losers of the drill. So we try to make it fun. And they're learning at the same time.
Okay, now that's what I want to keep telling me. It's fun is one thing, but now you tell me how it's fun. And the biggest thing is kids love to compete, and they love to compete hard. And that's one of the things we want to instill in these kids is that it's fun to work hard. It's fun to do these things. It shouldn't be drudgery to work hard and compete. And like you said, and sometimes it's a silly thing. With little kids in hockey, we have them play freeze tag because they're just learning to skate, and they're actually in a point in their development where they need to learn to change directions very quickly. And nothing better than freeze tag. Now, do I have to explain to a bunch of parents why their kid having to pay all this money to play freeze tag? Yeah, that's my job as the coach to say how, yes, it's fun, but it also helps them develop as a player. Okay, now we have different ideas of how to make this a better atmosphere, but we want to think about not what we as coaches think is what the kids want or their parents, but what do the kids want? And I think you hit it right on the nose, Ruben. One of the first things is the kids want to feel connected to their teammates. They also want to feel connected to their coach. And just like one of the things you said right in the very beginning was, believe that they can improve, that they can get better. I mean, I have an issue with coaches who halfway through the season tell me that these kids aren't going to make his team next year. Well, first of all, your job as the coach is to try to help them, but you've already pegged them as this is only as good as they're going to get. Well, I don't know about you guys, but have you ever had a player who the next year is just leaps and bounds over he was the next year? Yeah. Matt, just think about when you're coaching 12 and 13-year-old boys. What happens?
Puberty.
The kid who was 3 foot nothing is now 5 foot, and he's a dominating player. Or you get the kid who's going through puberty. Now he's got to learn how to adjust to his body. But so, we have to, help them improve, help them through this, and not have preconceived notion that you're a checker, or this is what kind of position you can play, or you're not good enough. And the other thing kids want to know is that it's okay to act with integrity. That we're going to follow the spirit of the rule, not just the letter of the rule. That we're going to play the right way, and what I mean by the right way is within the rules of the game, and we're going to play as hard as we can. What do you guys think about the integrity part of that? What does that mean to you guys?
Well, it means, to me, it means what you said, following the rules, having the integrity to play hard for your teammates. To me, I thought of integrity as following rules, but I like what you said about integrity is also playing hard. That's integrity also. Yeah, being true to yourself and to your teammates.
I mean, if I want my kid, you know, if he's playing football, to give the hardest block that he can give. I want my hockey player to go in there and battle hard in the corners. I want my soccer players to not fear body contact and use it within the rules of the game. You know, not lay down there and act like they're dead or shot by a cannon, so that they get up and play. But if we want the kids to do it, what do we as coaches have to do?
Have integrity.
Model it, set the tone.
Okay. Now, what is integrity then? I mean, we're saying following the rules. I mean, right now you gave me just back exactly the word I asked you. I want to
doing the right thing, even if you can get away with doing the wrong thing. Following the rules, even if you can get away with breaking the rules. To me, that's integrity.
Yeah.
Playing hard, even though the coach isn't watching you at that moment. That's integrity to me.
Yeah, and we model that. That's where we're really important to these kids. You know, can we take advantage of a rule if we know that we're doing something wrong? Or in my case, I coach really young kids playing hockey, 10 years old and under. Am I going to look down the bench and in the third period not play a bunch of different kids so that we can win the game? When I've been telling them all year, it's not about that. You know, I have to have integrity too, all the way through how I'm coaching them through the game and how I approach the officials and how I approach them and how I approach their parents. Okay. And if all these things are given to these kids, all these ideas of being connected, that they can improve, that it's okay to play integrity, what might happen?
They're going to be successful.
Team will play better.
Okay. Anything else?
They'll be back next year or next week.
I mean, that's huge. I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, every sports club wants kids to come back. You know, and you know, there's a few, and sometimes that's more due to their parents that we'd rather them go find another sport or go play somewhere. But we want the kids to come back. We want to create that environment. What else will these things do?
It'll be more fun.
Okay. It'd definitely be more fun to feel connected to you, to think your coach cares about you and that your teammates care for you. That's fun too. But what else does it do?
Team will win more games.
Why?
Because they're probably going to be motivated, and playing hard is just a part of the way they do things.
And if they like each other, if they truly care for each other, are they more likely to play like a team?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, chemistry. They'll have chemistry.
Yeah, and so we're not just making this fun, happy, kumbaya world. We're making what? What are we helping these kids become?
Better people.
Better people, and also what?
Good competitors, strong competitors.
Yeah, we're making them better athletes. Nobody said that we're here just to make them happy. I mean, that's not part of it. I was very lucky in about 2000. I got to go to a workshop actually done by Jim Thompson, a PCA workshop in Orlando, Florida, when I was just starting out as a hockey director. And I had misgivings. You know, Positive Coaching Alliance. He's from Northern California. So this is going to be some left coast, mamby-pamby. We sing Kumbaya after the game. Well, I got there, and one of the first things he said was, we want the kids to play to win. We want them to compete as hard as possible. But we also want to make sure that we're not leaving out that part about them being better people as well as better athletes. And that really struck home to me. And he said, these are the ways we can do it. And this can help you become a better coach. And it was like, I was in nirvana, that there were other people that felt like me. Okay. Because you feel isolated, but this group will help you, to build to become a better coach and to understand that you have other people that feel the same way that you do. Okay. Now, the PCA coaching model basically has three parts: the connected, which is the emotional tank; the improving, which is the elm tree of mastery; and then integrity, which we've talked about a lot, is honoring the game. Now, what we have to remember too is things like emotional tanks or being not negative is my own son, who plays NCAA hockey right now. When he was 16 years old, he had moved away from home to play, and he played on a game where one of the top players had been moved back to defense, so he was put on the first line. They go out and they beat the number 4 team in the country. He has 2 goals and an assist. He's jumping in the air. And then the coach says to him afterwards, "Great job. I'm going to put you on the first line. Don't screw it up." So my kid went from, okay, I'm really excited, to the next game, gripping his stick hard and making a lot of mistakes. So did that coach want him to make mistakes? Anybody think that?
No. No.
Do you think he really thought he was knocking him down as opposed to building him up?
No, he wasn't trying to. He wasn't trying to knock him down, but
what did he do?
You knocked him down. Like my golf buddy who tells me when I step on the tee, don't hit it in the water, or and sure enough,
he did everything right up until the part was don't screw it up. Because now the kid doesn't want to make a mistake. He doesn't. The reason he was there was a kid wasn't in that spot. He knew he could play in that position. Nothing was going to matter. They needed him to be there, and he played creatively without fear. And the very next game, he's scared to get on the ice because he could lose what he earned very quickly. Okay? So those are where we have to look at negativity and positivity too. And again, by being connected and filling their emotional tank. And with the idea that they can improve to go along with integrity. Now, again, we said this isn't just youth coaches that feel this way. It's not just, it's coaches at all levels. And here's a good video to see what they're talking about.
We can just play through it, Jim. You've watched this, right?
Yep.
You're familiar with it? Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
We can just keep going.
All right.
You can pretend we just watched it.
Okay. Now, to me, this is one of the most important things. When the book of your life is written, will it say that you made a difference? Okay. This is from a former NHL head coach and player. You know, the kind of guys that rip helmets and bash each other and, that we see on sidelines. He's saying, did you make a difference? And coaches, any of you ever felt like you made a difference in a kid's life?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In what way?
I actually have a story real quick. I had a player who I coached her when she was in high school in lacrosse, and at 32 years old, she got breast cancer. And she actually called me after her first chemo treatment. And she said, "I just kept hearing you on the sidelines going, you never quit. You never quit. You push through it. You can do it. I believe in you." And I was bawling, but she just called enough to tell me that like the way that I pushed her as an athlete is helping her to fight cancer. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that was probably the one and only experience that I was like, I can't believe it made a difference like that. It was very cool.
Did you make her a professional athlete?
Did what?
Did you make her a professional athlete?
I did not.
You made her stronger and a better person who can deal with adversity.
Yeah.
Did you do your job?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. That's what's more important.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, experience is, and that kind of choked me up. I mean, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
This last year, I got invited to a player's wedding. And you're thinking, okay, wow. I was coach. And there was like 3 or 4 other kids who played with him. And a couple of them gone on to play, D1 and D3 college hockey and stuff. And the neat thing was they wanted to come out and hang with me and talk. It's like, all these cool people here and you want to come see me? It made me feel good that I made a difference in their life, that they cared enough to come and talk to me and want to know, tell me about their lives, what was going on, and all that kind of stuff. And that's huge. And again, yeah, did they play high levels? Sure. We gave them the opportunity to do so. But obviously, there was something that I did that made them connect with me. Maybe it was by mistake. It's very possible. But that was, that made me feel good that, yeah, I'm doing a positive thing with a kid. Okay? Now, the PCA model of coaching, and this is what we're really here for, is the double goal coach. And what does it say in that first circle on the left?
Striving to win.
Yeah. We're not here to strive to lose. We're not here to strive to get worse. Okay? There's no doubt about it. And what I try to tell my parents when I tell them at the beginning of the year is, I want them to compete to win. However, I'm never going to do, and I'm here to make them develop, but I'm never going to let their development get lost in their winning. And that I, as a coach, I can manipulate the game, and I can manipulate it by your child not playing or your child playing more. But I want every kid to strive to win. I want them to have that competition level. Now, what does the circle on the right say?
Teaching life lessons.
Okay. Is that important?
Yeah.
What kind of life lessons can we teach them? What can sports give them?
Teach them teamwork, bouncing back from adversity, goal setting.
So
how does yeah.
Okay. And one of the biggest ones to me is dealing with adversity. How many of our children today do not know how to deal with adversity? How many times as you as a coach, it's never the kid's fault, it's yours. And who says it?
Often the parents.
Yeah. These kids, do the parents let these kids deal with adversity?
No.
No. I have a really morbid statistic for you now. They say that kids between the ages of 20 and 25 now are committing suicide at an alarming rate. And they say the reason is mommy and daddy have fixed everything through their whole life. So now when they get out in the real world, when they get out of college, they're having a hard time adjusting. So we as coaches can put them in adverse situations. We can help them learn how to deal with adversity. And how do we do that? Any ideas? How do they react?
Just let them fail.
Yeah, let them fail. And tell them it's okay. As long as they what?
Come back.
Get back up and keep trying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just saw this thing. Scott Hamilton said he fell 461,000 times in his figure skating career. And he said, you know what? I got up 461,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
So he failed to become the best. Also, how are they going to deal with a bad call? How you deal with it. Just deal with it. Get on with it. You can handle it. And we owe it to these kids to get them to learn how to handle things like adversity. And the biggest thing about a double goal coach is, yeah, we're striving to win, but we're never going to lose teaching life lessons. And if it comes down between the two, we teach the life lesson that we don't cheat, that we don't take advantage of a situation that is wrong, that we're not tripping an opponent, or we're just going to go out there. And I've seen this. My brother-in-law played football in Oklahoma, and high school football in Oklahoma is almost as crazy as football in Texas. And my wife told me how the other team was chanting, break his leg, break his leg. And they did.
Wow.
And his college career was over before it started, and the other team won the game. So we don't want those. Those are the kind of life lessons. We're never going to take something like that over teaching the life lessons to compete hard and the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And last one. Okay. And again, like, that's the last. Yeah.
Yep.
That's the last. That's 20.
That's it.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Jim. I usually cut people off when they go as long as you did, but I chose not to cut you off because I wanted to see how long your introduction would go. And it went 36 minutes, which pace-wise, I know that's longer than we usually like the introduction to go. However, and I'm going to let everybody else give you some feedback, the stories that you told I wouldn't take any of them out. I would just put them in a different place, some of them. And that will save you time on your introduction. So I have some notes that say like, put this story at Elm or put this story for E-Tank. So I know it's exciting to give everything up front because you're really, you can just feel your passion in this. But I think the part of the workshop that the coaches really appreciate is the tools they can take with them. And I think using some of the stories you have to illustrate those points when you're dealing with that one tool, I think it might be a little bit more effective. So
Kelly,
yeah.
Kelly, could I add, because I actually have to get ready to jump in the car here pretty soon, and then I'll let you guys continue debriefing.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Jim, I thought that, the content, the stories, just really good stuff. And I feel I want to echo what Kelly said. I feel like you packed a whole workshop into that opening section. You packed a whole workshop. So yeah, spread it out, be patient where you're going to cover stuff. I think you want to basically, this section, I think you want to cut it in half, take 36 minutes, make it 18 minutes. There's other, you got 3 principles to work other stuff in. And I think it was a strong first demo, and I'm confident that you've got what it takes to be a dynamic PCA trainer. So congratulations.
Yeah,
and sorry,
like a lot of the stuff that I talked about will come up later in a thing, and then I can take that same story and put it in that section as opposed to where I put it. I can hold off a little.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And I apologize that I do have to get ready to jump in a car and
it's not your fault.
We'll drive here. Thank you, Jim. We'll see you. Hopefully see. Yeah, thanks, Scott, John, Kelly. Thank you, Jim. We'll see you in your next demo, I hope.
Thanks, Ruben. Scott, I know you've been on for a while too. I'd love to hear your some feedback.
No, I thought it was great. I echo your and Ruben's thoughts. I was in my mind thinking we're in a 3-hour workshop. And I think the tendency is, and maybe he took it right because you just coached up the previous presenter with ask, don't tell.
Right.
Like every slide, we got 4 or 5 questions, and it really dragged, and knowing that, to Ruben's point, this is a part of the workshop that's supposed to take about 15 or 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are times to ask those questions, and there's times to hit the clicker and go to the next slide. And I think that comes with reps. I thought initially when you first welcomed us to the workshop, you welcomed us to a triple impact competitor workshop. Little thing, but all of a sudden you're going to have coaches going, whoa, I'm in the wrong thing. Or that's not what the slide says.
Yeah, no reason I did that is that's what the thing said. I thought maybe I'm screwing the thing up. So there's a
Gotcha. Okay. The About PCA slide, which is something we go quick on. I think it's also important to know that those numbers are 12-month numbers. Right. They're not current. I mean, those numbers are all low for the last 12 months, but it's tough for us to keep up with them. So I always kind of share, hey, it's more like it was 5 million in the last 12 months. It was over, however many coaches. We did almost 3,000 workshops, and it's 1 million visits in a 12-month period. So I think that really kind of reiterates and stresses the size of those numbers. I thought you got stuck on the positive negative slide a little bit. We got into, like Ruben said, you did a whole workshop on a couple of these slides. So, I would think it's just getting into the pacing and being careful with asking us too many, because if you keep asking them, pretty soon they're going to shut down. If you keep asking them, like you heard us in 36 minutes, what life lessons are you going to learn? Well, we've kind of asked and answered that question. So I think just being mindful of your pace, and think back and think, okay, how do I cut that in half?
And I think part of the way of cutting it in half is I was doing a bunch of the slides that are coming up already.
Yeah.
all that stuff I should put back where that placing is, and wait till I get to them, like on the Elm stuff and some of those things there, which will help.
I think Ruben, in my training part, Ruben would always tell me, hey, look, here are the 3 key things that need to come off of this slide.
Right.
You know, there might be 3 or 4 paragraphs of text in the script. The key thing, and you can elaborate or you can't. You might throw a story in here. You might wait and tell a story. But the key things is get those and get going, because you've got to get into the meat of the workshop.
Yep.
You know, as the next click of the magic wand gets you into emotional tanks, honor, you know, the elm tree and honoring the game. And so this is just a little snippet that you
like when I do my USA hockey coaches, I know what's coming next better. So I know where the way to put it, and I know the whole presentation better as to where I can maneuver things around to get them in. Not get them in and get them out, but get them in and get them out before they're exhausted. And
how long are your US hockey workshops, Jim?
All day.
Right. So that's one of the big differences. So that's one of the things too. We have a lot of US lacrosse trainers as well. And the US lacrosse training certification is a whole day. Yeah. So a lot of them have trouble realizing you've got 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. Yeah. So, you know, I think that's something that's really, you're trained to have them all day. So the introduction to a whole day thing is probably about 35, 40 minutes.
Yeah,
but
it is.
You know, this is short, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, Scott, but I just wanted you to keep that in mind, that it's totally different.
I mean, the last 2 double goal coach workshops I did were the new 1 hour deck.
Yeah.
You know, so you think about, you'd be going, okay, we got the elm tree, the roots of this. So it's really pacing. And I think maybe that, you know, something like that, having to do it in an hour would help this part of it for you.
Yeah.
Because you really, this is PCN, we do this, boom, 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 boom. Here it is, boom. You know, I mean, the National Advisory Board thing, that's supposed to be a real quick slide. Yeah. You know, a 5-minute plus slide for you. So, you know, I think there's just, you'll learn the pacing as you do reps and get more comfortable with, you know, I don't have to spit it all at them at one time. But I thought I loved your stories. You know, I thought some of the improving as kids and improving as coaches, that's something that I say every time we do a workshop.
Yeah.
You know, it's for you to get better. And I throw coaches in there that I played for and just say, hey, look, they were all great learners. This is a chance for you to learn. There's not a ball or a stick or a puck in the room, but it's a chance to get better.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Scott. Jim, I really liked a lot of the things you did. When I do these all the time, and I usually take about a page of notes for each person, and I've got 3.5 pages on you because I loved some of your stories and some of the things you said. I thought they were really strong and they applied. As I said, I think we need to put them in a different spot. But the other thing that I actually learned from Ruben, which is helpful too, after this call, I want you to try to do the introduction to the workshop in 5 minutes. Okay, just in front of the mirror, record yourself, whatever you want to do. Just go through it and see if you can do it in 5 minutes. And it's amazing that you can actually do a very strong intro in 5 minutes. Because he used to do that with stories when he was first training me. I love to tell stories. And I would tell a 4-minute story, and I would think it was the greatest story ever. And then he would say, now tell the same story in 60 seconds. And when you're actually forced to do that, you still hit all the points. You still got the same energy. You still have the same passion. But you just leave out some of the extra details. And then when you go to do it live at a workshop, it'll stretch out a little bit, obviously longer, but at least you know where you're going. So I think that'd be a good exercise for you.
Yeah, that'd be huge.
I loved how Scott said, you know, don't ask us every time. And when I'm going to share this recording with you, so you can actually watch John, who went before you. John actually did the honoring the game principle in about 14 minutes. So he was the other extreme. He talked through everything and didn't give us as many opportunities. That's why I said to him, like, you have to bring us in more. I think you, Jim, have to bring us in a little less because there we go. Screen high five. The introduction to the workshop is really a teaser. You really don't want to give us everything because you want the coaches to want more. And if you give them everything in the first 36 minutes, as Scott said, they're going to be done. They're going to be zoned out. Like, all right, I already got this. I already understand this. You want to make it so that you bring up a point and then say, gosh, how do you handle that kid that's just showing up at practice every day? The kid has so much potential, but he's just taking forever to put his skates on, and he's not getting in line, and he's picking on his buddies. He's got a low empty tank, and we're going to talk about that. Like give him some teasers. The other thing about asking, there are probably 50 different ways to get people to share answers. Throw some of those in. Share with a partner. Get into a group. You asked us how many years of experience we have. Put us in groups around the room according to how many years we've been coaching. Put us in groups according to what color our eyes are or whatever. Just to make coaches mobile, interactive, engaging. A lot of trainers just relate to share with a person. And that gets so old too. Like, don't have me share with the same guy next to me 5 times because, I want to do something different. So do it maybe once, do it maybe twice. But remember, everybody's got somebody in front of them, behind them, on either side of them, diagonally, somebody across the room. So use other opportunities. Sometimes it's a matter of just taking a ball and throwing it around the room. And, okay, when you catch the ball, shout out a life lesson. Go ahead. Toss it to somebody else. It's juvenile. It's silly. But I have never had an adult that hasn't, laughed and actually enjoyed doing something like that. So, and they never want to drop the ball because that's just not cool.
Yeah. You want to catch it. I think
real quick,
biggest things for me is, again, was I didn't approach it like it was the other parts. And
right.
That, it's like I took it out of context as opposed to the context of the whole thing. And that's something I got to really understand is what's coming next.
Yes.
I can move them from here to there. I wasn't like that pool player who's setting it up for the second shot. I was just worried about that initial one. So.
Right. And that's why I give you 3 opportunities too, so that you can see where this falls into the order of things. So I'm glad you realized that. The one thing I caught real small was that you are now PCA. So use the term we. You were talking about PCA and you said they do a lot of research and they, you are PCA. So you be we and you own it, just the language wise. And again, as Scott said, those numbers are yearly and I raise it up. I changed my slide to say 3,000 live workshops and over 5 million youth reached because the numbers are increasing. Mm-hmm. So I think you can change that on the slide. Feel free to do that. I liked the psychology of young coaches story. I think you handled that question, that kind of pushback from Ruben really well when he was talking about negativity. And you said, these college coaches and professional coaches have to feed their families. I hope you guys aren't, feeding your family on what you make. I thought that was a really good, respectful way to push back on what he said. I think even more is that these elite coaches that are on that National Advisory Board slide, they are feeding their families. And they also believe that positivity is the right way to do it. So I think you could go one step further. Also, if there is a hockey coach, you're doing a hockey workshop, we'll show you how to put their picture on the slide. Because I think it's good to have the hockey guys on there. I love when you said I don't feel the love. Rattle them off. Claude Julien, man, put him on the slide. Or Claude. All right, couple other stories. I love the quote, I've had 25 years of screwing up. I think especially somebody that's been coaching for 25 years, if you can be honest and vulnerable with the coaches in the room and talk about times you've screwed up and what you've learned, then that's going to make them feel a connection to you right away. So I think that's important.
Well, when I did the USA Hockey ones, that's one of the first things I say. And again, I try to do it to give them the idea that I'm not, like I said, pontificating to them, but I know all the answers.
Right.
I made mistakes, and we're all going to make mistakes. And it seems to put them a little bit more at ease. At least I found it to work that way.
Yeah. I actually went to a workshop a few weeks ago to observe a brand new trainer. And they asked 3 questions at the beginning of the workshop. Who was a coach that has had the biggest impact on you was the first question. Then they had them in the group. Who was the coach that had the biggest impact on you? What was your most proud coaching moment? What have you done that you're most proud of? And what have you done that you wish you could have a do-over? And it was just a great way to start a workshop because it got us thinking of all 3 of those areas right off the bat. And I liked that. I thought that was cool. Loved the story about the one that I think you should move is when you said, I pulled my players off the ice with a victory, but they didn't give any effort. They didn't play hard. Save that for Elm Tree. Don't put that in there. The story about your NHL player from Orlando that got the humanitarian award, I think that is a top-notch story. I mean, I would even love to see you move that a little bit further up in the workshop. That one, and the one about how you thought Jim Thompson was a left-wing Northern California crunchy granola guy. You might want to move that up right in the front. I think that's important.
I had lined up to go here and there, and it's like, oops, I haven't said that one yet, and I stuck it in somewhere else. So yeah.
Yeah. Nope, it's good. It's good.
Where I want this, yeah.
Yep. I think the quote, "No one wants to get on the ice to get worse." I think that's awesome. It's just a quick little line, but that stuck with me. So when you talked about playing freeze tag, and when you talked about kids that change teams every year aren't going to connect the friendships, save that for emotional tank. I wouldn't give that in the intro. I would save that because those are two really strong points for emotional tank connection. So I think that's great. Let me see. What else do I love here? Just the wedding story. Stories like that. I mean, those are so real. You went to a wedding and these players came back and they wanted to talk to their youth coach. I think that combined with the story of the NHL, people that came back and asked you, how was he when he was a kid? Those are stories that really will resonate with youth coaches, because sometimes youth coaches don't feel like their job's that important. And I think, stories like that, examples like that really show that it is so important what they're doing. So I thought that was great. Again, throwing in the Scott Hamilton, that's relevant. Scott Hamilton quote, I read that too. I love that quote. So I think that's really important. So Jim, I'm excited. I think it's very cool when you have a brand new trainer that has too much good stuff. Really, I mean, it's not a bad problem to have. So I think being able to keep an eye on the pace, keep an eye on the time, pushing some stuff to later in the workshop, keeping your points simple and clear, and then throwing in your stories. The only other thing that I wrote down is I'd love to hear you, because you are hockey, so hockey. I'd love to hear you throw in some other examples from, football, basketball, baseball, because I'm sure Scott wants to send you out to a whole bunch of different sports. And it's always good to have a bunch of those stories in your back pocket.
Yep. Well, I played a bunch of other sports of all weird connection to hockey. I was actually a fencer and got recruited at D1 for fencing, but I didn't want to go to Penn. So I didn't end up doing
Wow.
it.
Okay. But that's interesting right there.
Yeah, that's a weird connection with hockey. They don't seem to go together very well, other than you're sticking somebody with a stick. So other stuff.
Well, Jim, I think I'm gonna send you this recording so you'll be able to hear the feedback back again. But I think for your next demo, you pick one of the principles, and it's 20 minutes. Okay. And I think you have a lot of good things to work with. So we're excited to see you do it.
Is it possible for you to also scan the notes you made and send them to me so I can look at them that way, or just that you send me?
I honestly don't even know if you'd be able to read them. So I think you should take the verbal, because I have my own little chicken scratch here that I use for my pluses, my minuses, my happy faces, I don't think you'd be able to read it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think you can take notes while you're watching the audio back.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks very much. And let us know when you're ready for the next one.
All right. We'll see you guys.
All right.
Thanks for taking the time, Scott. I appreciate it.